Welcome to Skillset Engage. We are back to reviewing the Vevor Alaskan Sawmill. This particular box was originally part of a extra sawmill guide rail. I've actually had to buy two of those, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But first, to one of the things I don't like and the way I have to fix it. So if we're looking at this right here, we have basically these hammer and spikes that go in, and they show them going both the same direction. Well, as you hammer this in, it has an angle on it, and it wants to drag things this way. Same thing if you had a second one and wanted to hammer it in, it wants to drag things further along. And rinse and repeat as you add the sections that go in between, and then the next set with the lock-in spikes, then you end up in a situation where everything is trying to pull it that way. One's locked into place, the next one wants to pull, and so what you get is you get a space that occurs as it gets pulled, and the next one gets pulled a little bit further, and I just don't really like it like that. So by having one hammer this way, and repeating that as we go down, hopefully the forces are not so inclined to pull it and separate it out. Won't know until we try it the next time, but that's the way I'm setting all these up going forward. Now, when you're setting this up, you want one side on one of these units to be very, very long, because it's going to overhang the first starting spot and give you a shelf to set the Alaskan Sawmill on. So that was a lesson learned too. Don't do it all the way up to the end like they show here. Next up, these can be relatively short. In fact, because they're spacer bars, which are single, which are typically just these in between each of these kind of cross-section spike strip sections, you basically want these as far to the edge as possible to give that stability to both units, kind of balanced with that. But I digress. The reason I had to buy a second one of these is this guy right here. These little fly nuts that they have going on here are nice, but they like to shake out as they go through. And since we're looking at the bottom side here, as this thing vibrates, if it isn't tight enough, these will shake loose. So bring a magnet when you try and do this thing, because you will lose a couple of these. Buying a small pack of these is almost the same price as buying the sawmill rail system. So I bought an extra rail system, figured I'd have a couple extra chunks, and it replenished my store of two of these that went missing. So those are the things I've learned about this whole guide sawmill setup. And also, get yourself a good 90, make sure it's in place. That'll help with assembly and giving you consistent locations to mount this post across each of these respectively. I went 3 inches here on this guy here, and then I did the full length of my square here for the future reference. And then this will be placed right at the edge of the log so that you'll be able to have a shelf, that shelf that we talked about earlier. Anyway, that's the sawmill rail system. And also we have the tension screws. We talked about getting a tool for that. That'll help immensely. Don't tighten this down all the way. You want this loose enough to hammer into place. So these can be tight, but it's a little interesting with that in some ways. But that's what I've learned so far. So hope that helped, and talk to you next time.